I have some dreams to recount. I shall start with this one here. This dream had more the feel of a lucid dream. I was completely aware and conscious within it. I used to practice lucid dreaming and such, and although fun, you don't have the adventures and experiences that real side New You stimulated dreams and the guides provide. Anyway, I was on a street, and a few meters from my position was Gwen, sitting by herself in a car. Naturally, I approached and engaged her in conversation. She seemed rather disheartened and melancholy. On inquiring why she was in this state of being, she would respond along the lines that she was in this dream, but it was very boring, and she felt as limited here as on the physical side. And to prove this was not so, I bent down and lifted up the car she was occupying and raised it above my head, with her still inside it. This seemed to impress upon her the fact that nobody can be as limited as they are on the physical, that things are more easily manipulated and moved by thought. Placing the car back down upon the ground, she exited the vehicle and accompanied me, as I led her to a house. I then demonstrated a novel way of entering the house that wouldn't have been possible on the physical level. I extended my arms to many times their normal length. I gripped the edges of the house and ripped the front section clean away, as though it were paper. We entered the building, and there were some individuals there making their dinner. We lingered for a moment, and then another individual saw fit to attack me. He came lunging at me and flailing his fists. His assault was ineffective, but an attack nonetheless, and as we have a right to defend ourselves, I seized the antagonistic person by the material of his collar and thrust him upwards, that his head went through the ceiling above us and he was rendered unconscious. And I had seen this in a Superman movie, in Superman 2, where Zod, who was one of the bad guys, had done just this to the chief reporter, and although he wasn't exactly defending himself, it was a novel thing to do under these dream circumstances that I found myself in.
Is that it, or is there a commercial?
No, that's it for the first dream.
Oh, that's it for the first one. Okay, that's an adventure. Yes, well, that's really cool. You're terrific, Peter. That's just really cool. So your mom is there, and I understand. You know, things look a little ho-hum, and that's the car. That's the car represents an attitude. So just kind of sitting in it, and then all of a sudden you demonstrate, hey, there's more going on, and this is what the boys do. They create these demonstrations, but they also, you know, prompt us to do something just like that, to where, you know, you have your adventure and with people you know that are acceptable to it, and she was, so you went off and you went to this other place. Well, again, this house is a personal thing. Your house on the real side represents the personal you know, like Peter or Bob or Joe. That's their house, and most people are usually in their house because that's that personal little part, their mind, their senses, etc. But you went over there, and maybe it's somebody you know or something, and you ripped off the front of the house. Okay, so in other words, you made your own entrance. In a way, you kind of intruded, and so again, somebody comes up to you and is not happy with what you're doing. But you're doing what you're doing, and we can get ourselves in trouble on the real side too, because again, we do have abilities there, and so, but you know the experience best as you take a look at it, you see? So it'd be kind of like where you would, like here, you would just go up to somebody's house, whether you knew them or not. You just walk through the door. You don't, you know, you don't even knock or anything. You just walk in and say, hi, I'm here. So see, you kind of ripped off the front, which is an exaggeration of that. You just kind of walked in and you see people having dinner or whatever. I mean, that's their private life. And so somebody wasn't happy about that, were they? So you threw them through the ceiling. And they were having a nice dinner.
Yes, using front doors is so last century, in my opinion. So I should move on to my next tale, my next dream. In this dream, I was observing. I was neither immersed in it, nor did I have a role to play, nor interact with any of the individuals and the scenery, so possibly doing my objective viewing. So, there was a village setting, in modern times, as far as one could tell. A female was engaged in a ceremonial burying of the dead. It was a rather odd custom, but she was burying the bones, and it was essential they face a certain direction of the compass. No sooner had she finished this curious ritual than a reptilian burst from the ground, bundling the shocked female unceremoniously to the ground and holding her there. He was full reptilian, bipedal, greeny-grey scaled, and evidently rather outraged, with the female the recipient of his wrath. He revealed the reason for his aggression, as he explained to the female how the reptilians were fed up with this particular ritual and what it resulted in. Judging by her shock, she and her people were blissfully unaware of how the ceremonies were affecting adversely a species they, until now, had never realized existed. He threatened that there would be ramifications for her transgressions, and then promptly vanished. He was not telling untruths, as later the village was under attack from what was predominantly an invisible menace that slaughtered many of the people there. I say predominantly, as some witnesses reported seeing reptilians that were administering this carnage, but much of it was witnessed as people being slain as though by invisible foes. The next day, everything returned to normality, or as normal as it is likely to be after such an event. I was observing throughout, and would carry on doing so. My dream, although short in its duration, spanned many months of their time. It seemed that even despite the reptilians being the cause of the deaths, many of these people had taken to a kind of worship of them. They were even dressing up in costumes that very loosely resembled their assailants of months ago. As they persisted in their idolizing of the reptilians with their costume wearing, actual reptilians, unseen by them, would move amongst them, probably for the purposes of tap-lining, and most likely they had been always there, unseen, and always inserting their tap lines into another group of individuals they wanted to control and energy vampirize. I had the impression that the ceremonies these people were doing were causing the reptilians problems on the astral level. The collective focus on certain ideas, particularly of a ritualistic and distorted nature possibly, may have been creating astral thought forms or projections of this nature created by their collective created consciousness, and that these manifestations were on the loose on the astral, and likely annoying the reptilians that reside there. That, or possibly something along the lines that their created beliefs may be causing those that pass over to be stuck and confused, and causing disruption in some way to the reptilians. The specifics of their ideas may result more readily in ghosts then, one or the other. A strange reaction to the reptilians too from the people there, but it was apparent they'd never seen their like before, and maybe considered them demons, or powerful creatures from higher realms, or perhaps gods. It may have triggered old ancestral memories of encounters with the reptilians, where maybe the reptilians, as they did with humans, presented themselves initially as deities. And even though, as with the humans, such events are not in any recorded histories or in living memory, the fact that it occurred would be stored in every individual's causal body, and would possibly trigger such reactions as worship and reverence. I wonder how the masses of humans might react were reptilians to reveal themselves publicly. Maybe something similar, as demonstrated in this dream experience.
That's another wow experience of Kevin Smith. Yes, and again, somebody's being bothered, aren't they? It's another bothered experience, Kevin. So again, you seem to be around with these things. Anyhow, so in the beginning, it's interesting. I'm looking at this, and the impressions start coming in. It's basically what a lot of people are doing. Look at the world. You got all kinds of stuff. You got the light people, the Galactic Federation. You've got the meditators, the yogas, the Buddhists, all these things, and all of them do some kind of ceremony or ritual, don't they? And this is just a particular one. Again, this lady's doing this ritual with a bunch of bones, which, what does that represent? Something dead, something that's been dead a long time, right? Because the skin's not even there, it's just the bones. So that means it's been sitting there. So what she's doing is the skeleton represents an old idea that's dead. And she's still doing it, but for some reason, it's bothering the reptilians. It's like, see, because they get bored too. And it's like, you know what, you've done this routine, over and over, and we keep watching you, and can't you do something else? Can't you think of something else? This is really kind of boring. And so again, the reptilians always look for an excuse because they're bored, they're knuckleheads, and they just like to cause trouble. So this gives them an excuse to step up, and to them, they look at the people as stupid people. They're just doing stupid things, which most people do. They just do stupid things, but it seems to be something. And so again, and you're saying the months and months, or at a certain point, it turns back to normal. In other words, this is, you see, at first, you're seeing the kind of craziness that people do, but then it turns back to normal because that's the view of the personal self here. All of these things, these old things, these worship ideas, tradition, whatever. Okay, our family's done this for 100 years. Okay, yes, we're old, bored, and constipated, so this is what we do. Okay, something along those lines. So again, there's the idea there, and then the scene changes back to where like everything is normal, and then months go on, because with that view, that is the personal view here, to where these things that are really funny when you see them on the real side for what they really are, like the girl's doing this, and the bones have to be, they have to go a certain way. Maybe they got to point north or something like that, or northeast, or whatever the little hocus pocus stuff is made up in the little magic book or whatever. Okay, so yeah, but in the physical part, it's all normal. Everything is normal. And see, and things go on and on and on and on, etc. And so, again, you have the reptilian influence. And yes, all of a sudden, now these people are doing these things, and you see these reptilians following them around, just like all the stuff, just like when Sandy went to the corporation in Chanhassen and saw all the reptilians with everybody, and underneath the place and whatever, etc. But they're thinking in their minds, oh, this place is full of light. No, it's full of bugs. And so again, you're seeing that real side of it and these different things. And when we're looking at things out here, we see all this stuff. We see these different spiritual paths. We see the Dalai Lama. We see the Pope. We see all these things that we've come through. And when you see them on the real side, that's the real side that you're seeing. You see. So unless the real guys are backing them up and it's making sense and it's focused on the is, which it's not, it's focused on ritualistic stuff that draws in, that attracts these things that are dead. The dead attracts the dead. That's just very simple. You're not going to make anything out of it. It's like the old saying, you're not going to make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. The thing being is that everything attracts what it attracts. And it doesn't matter what the cute little thoughts are, or the cute little sayings, or the scriptures, and all these things. No, it has nothing to do with that. Overall, it has to do with the intent, again. And this is what people don't see. So they go along with the ideas, which become ritualism, ceremonies, tradition, all these cute ideas that have been created that seem to substantiate something, especially beliefs, belief, hope, and faith. These things are nothing, but they're supposedly something. But again, people formulate their reality, and what you're seeing is you're seeing the actuality of what people are performing, which equals nothing. It really equals nothing. So again, it's, deciding to wake up. But you're seeing that you're getting a better and better objective view of this. So yes, that was great how you narrated this. This is really cool, Kevin. Thank you.
Okay. Well, in this experience, this is quite a short one. This is an attack by the dark forces experience. I was in various stages from wakefulness to deep sleep. I was constantly moving in and out of sleep as the events unfolded. In my dream, I was seemingly under a relentless attack from all kinds of creatures, insects, and indescribable things. As I would emerge from my sleep into wakefulness, I would be prodded and poked by invisible assailants. My pillows pulled and tugged this way and that, and the covers of my bed were thrown into disarray. And when I returned to sleeping, I was attacked again by the critters in the dream. This went back and forth for a time. Then at one stage, back in the dream, a large rat entered the room I was now in. It was about the size of a dog, and I was anticipating yet a further assault from this oversized rodent. However, I didn't have any impression of malevolence from it, and in fact, on its entering, all attacks from the other creatures and insects ceased, and they scuttled, crawled, and fluttered away. This rat then sat on my chest, almost as though guarding me and ensuring my safety, and I proceeded to stroke it. It also changed colour too, all the colours of the rainbow, blending together. It was surely the most colourful rat in history. In my dream too, my parents, Gwen and Peter, burst in. As I was stroking my constantly changing multicoloured rat, they informed me that they had been attacked too, but now the attack had ceased, due, it would seem, to the presence of this animal guardian, and then I woke up. So, evidently, an attack by the dark forces and an unexpected protector. And what with every animal in creation having a vehicle on every life level as we do, and also a place in the real universes, maybe this is an animal that elected to assist from the level of life I was on during this event, maybe sent by the guides to help. Maybe it is an individual I once knew from another place and lifetime, maybe an old pet who noticed my plight, recognised who I was and came to my aid, or maybe a shape-shifting individual, maybe a guide, as they have the capability to shift into animals when the need arises, like when Rebazar became an eagle and protected Dwayne from the pack of wolves in New Book 1.
And now we go to commercial. Okay. Yeah, that's cute. In other words, I had a few pet rats when I was younger, and rats are cool. Rats are very smart. They're very aware, and they're real survivors, like bats and things like that. All these animals are survivors, and so yes, that's what it is. You got a new buddy there that, and it's good to have friends, right? So that's the idea. And at first, it's like, well, gee, this is a giant rat, but yeah, actually, rats are cool. And it just depends upon, again, their environment, but, your experience there, that's terrific. And so, and your parents are in your experience, too. So you guys are all together, and yes, they know you're here, just like Pierce's experience. Yes, they're constantly seeing what you're doing, and they don't like it, which I think you had another experience in the past where, stop focusing on the is or something like that, etc. They don't like that. See, it bothers them. And so, but little by little, we creep along with this, and we really see the impact of creation. Again, this is where most people are in La La Land. They think they're okay, but they're really not. They're being sucked down on a daily basis, and it's getting worse and worse and worse, etc., because more people are becoming aware, but they've really got to scratch, and they've really got to focus and really take the time to pay attention to really see through all of this and be okay with it, to get through creation, because there's so much unconscious agreement that people don't see. That's the big part, is the unconscious agreement to face within the personal self, because it's your right to have any agreement you want. And unconscious agreement, that's a toughie. Even personal agreement here. So you got a lot of agreement, and so each person decides how they're going to get through it. So that was terrific, and how you narrated that was great. So again, I'd contact Netflix and see if we can make a series of your experiences here, Kevin. So, okay, so can we do the new you now?
Yep. Thank you very much, Dwayne, and it's been great speaking with you all, and for you sharing your insights and such. And so don't mess with us, because we've got rats.
Exactly. We don't want to scare everybody for too long here. So again, yes, these experiences are far out. So thank you so much, Kevin. You guys are great. Thank you.
Dwayne?
Do you. Thank you, everybody. It's all for you. See you next time. Thank you so much, Kevin. It's great. More big adventures coming. Thank you so much. Thank you, Kelsey, and everybody.